Hello, my fellow concerned friends, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for showing up and watching and supporting me every time I post. It genuinely means the world to me. And if you're new here, hello, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. Out of all of these other videos you could have clicked on, you chose mine, and I really appreciate that. I hope that you can stick around and you can get something beneficial from my content today. Today, we are once again talking about generative AI and the genuinely terrifying and dangerous future it will leave us with if we do not do something about it as soon as possible. I just recently finished reading the 2026 AI CSA report by the Internet Watch Foundation, and we have gone over reports from the IWF multiple times in the past, and the most recent one that we did was obviously the 2025 report. And if you guys remember me briefly kind of going over that in a few videos, you know about what the findings were, and I'm telling you now, in a year, it has somehow grown exponentially more than you're even probably thinking. It's absolutely horrible. Generative AI has been around for us to use for about 3 years now. And if you guys can remember back to when it first became publicly available and people were using it for fun, it was awful. It was awful. It quite literally looked like somebody had taken multiple magazines and cut them and just placed them together to try to form a scene, a scenario, a person. I think one of like the most infamous early day AI videos is the Will Smith eating spaghetti video. And not yearly, but it seems like monthly since then, AI has gotten better and better and more realistic to the point that today we have AI models stealing content from real people. And these AI models have thousands of followers and an actual fan base who is sitting here, wow, you're so beautiful, you're so cool, blah, blah, blah. And that's not a real person. And this fan base either doesn't know that or honestly doesn't care. People themselves are uploading their own voice to AI and using AI to create their own music. I have seen video after video after video of people being scammed on TikTok Shop because there is an AI person with this deep sob story about how nobody likes my art and I'm just hoping at least one person likes my art, and they're selling like some kind of like fancy Mario Brothers resin pour lamp that's obviously not a bad product, but it's not real. It's not real, and it's so realistic. And if you are not one of those kinds of people who takes the time and actually tries to pay attention and you're reading the fine print of the words, etc., you wouldn't know. And I look at the comments and there's all of these comments of people saying, I'm so sorry, people are so mean to you, I would love to buy one. And it's the same blueprint for every single post, and all of the accounts are different. We have a major problem with AI deepfakes not only affecting adults, but also affecting children. And even such a problem, we are at the point where the Internet Watch Foundation has labeled this AI CSA. I remember in the early days of me talking about the dangers of AI in regards to children and why you shouldn't post your children online, period, end of story. I was met with so much backlash. People telling me that, and me taking it that seriously, and me calling it CSAM, which if you don't know what CSA and CSAM are, CSA is child use, and CSAM is child sex material. So that material would just be images, videos, etc. of the CSA itself. But people would tell me that I'm watering down the actual use of CSA and CSAM by calling that content what it is. I was told that, and me saying that this needs to be stopped, and all of these posts of like AI babies, and I can't even say on YouTube some of the other posts that I have seen on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, that quite literally I have no words. But people telling me that and me saying, hey, we should report those things, we should advocate for these things to be illegal, I am actually taking away justice from real victims. I even had people trying to convince me that allowing offenders and those alike to use AI for this purpose is actually a form of harm reduction. If you guys can remember, a couple months ago, I actually released that video on Sora, and a big part of that video was actually one of these kind of arguments that I had with someone on TikTok that I included in the YouTube video because it was pertinent, where this person, Andre, was using something such as the trolley problem to justify why this behavior with AI is okay and actually better for society. Because what would you rather? Would you rather AI children or real children? And I have been saying it has to be neither, and it can be neither, and now we have the Internet Watch Foundation confirming that. To remedy the proliferation of this material, the IWF works directly with AI model developers through our membership and with legislators, regulators, and law enforcement. First and foremost, we urge services to take greater accountability in ensuring their products are safe. And yet, we have seen some services launch generative AI tools without adequate safeguards in place. When technology companies prioritize capturing user attention and market share over safety by design principles, they create vectors for child safety must be embedded from the outset, not treated as an afterthought. We welcome the UK government's action to introduce the ability for designated authorities like the IWF to test AI models. This represents an important step to promote effective safety by design prior to model release and on an ongoing basis. As a global authority on combating child imagery, we stand ready to partner with academics, institutions, and other organizations, as well as industry, to deliver a robust and independent auditing function at every stage of development, pre and post-launch. We cannot tackle this risk alone. We need safety by design embedded as a non-negotiable standard in AI development with clear standards set by governments. This technology has extraordinary potential to change our lives for the better, but only if we mitigate the harms first. Injustice is not inevitable. We have an opportunity now. We must not waste it. As you guys can see, this is a very urgent and important and serious matter. Now, obviously, if you're not new here, you know that I don't agree with this statement that generative AI could play any positive role in our society. So I just want to say, although I read that, I don't agree with that part, but those are her words, and I wanted you guys to be able to hear all of her words. But she is so right. This is inevitable if we do not do something now to stop it. Because as we continue diving deeper into this report, we will eventually get to the point where the IWF lets us know that there is a huge possibility in the near future that AI programs designed specifically to create this material could become fully autonomous with little human interaction needed. A lot of people have a very dangerous false idea that CSAM is something that is only seen, shared, and distributed on flash drives and on the dark web. And I have been trying to get people to understand for years now that that is not true. Well, it is, but it's also true that this kind of material and content is found right here on the surface web, right here on platforms like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, buying and selling websites, as well as buying and selling apps, Facebook, you name the social media platform, Telegram, Discord, and it is there. They are there. They are using coded languages and dog whistles to find each other, and people who do not believe this or understand this or know about it scroll past this content thinking this is just a troll, this is just a weirdo who thinks it's funny to rage bait people, because they have a false idea that this content is only kept under the table, and it is not. AI CSAM is hosted and distributed across a range of online environments, including dark web forums and the clear web, demonstrating that this is a current and active threat. I know that a lot of you have seen the TikTok baby and child content, not only because I know a lot of you guys saw my video on Sora too, but also because a lot of you guys are tagging me in this content all the time, which proves to us that this is a rampant problem. However, I would like to know if any of you has seen this content. Have you gone through the comments? Like specifically as close to the bottom as you have the mental capacity to scroll? Have you gone onto the account and checked the bio? Have you looked at the profile picture? Have you gone through other content of theirs? Because for a lot of these accounts, you'll see coded languages in the bios. Sometimes you'll see links. Sometimes in the comments themselves, you'll see people talking about sharing. Does anybody have any links? And a lot of these links do lead to these kinds of groups, forums, Telegram, places, Discord, whatever. And a lot of these videos being posted to find each other, to be able to distribute, is CSAM itself. And a lot of people do not like it when I say that, because it takes away from real victims and survivors. No, it does not. I am a survivor of this, and obviously I cannot speak for every survivor, but taking this seriously and calling it what it is does not water down the term, and it doesn't prevent us from getting justice. It prevents these people from progressing as fast as they would as long as they still have access to this content and they are still sharing it as rampantly as they are and creating it as rampantly as they are. And as fast as you think they're creating it, I promise you, it is a lot faster and a lot worse than you are thinking. And no, the problem is not just these people typing some words into their personal AI models that they have fine-tuned and taken a little bit from this and that, because this is how they do it. They'll, you know, in disguise, covertly ask ChatGPT, right? How do I do X, Y, or Z? But they're hiding their intentions. They're hiding their intentions. And this is something the IWF talks about, to be able to get to the point where they have fine-tuned this one specific AI model just for this, and it's completely uncensored. You can find people on Reddit talking about this, talking about what AI system is the most uncensored. And it's because they need to use that specific AI to do some of the most horrifying things that you can think of with real life images of children, as well as just straight up AI. And it is so terrifying. A substantial proportion of AI CSAM also sits beyond the scope of the IWF's visibility. Fine-tuned models and datasets can be hosted on offline devices and shared via end-to-end encrypted peer-to-peer networks, where both distribution and model development take place without reliance on centralized hosting. These environments significantly limit visibility for organizations such as the IWF to contribute to the underestimation of the true scale and distribution of AI CSAM. A lot of these people are very, very smart. Again, I think a lot of people think of offenders and predators as these smelly, gross weirdos who just sit in a dark basement eating potato chips, lurking online for anything. No, these people have lives. These people, besides that part, are normal, everyday people. These people are computer scientists, engineers, lawyers, doctors, fathers, priests. They are anything and anywhere. They don't look a certain way, they don't behave a certain way in a way that most people would be able to see, or anybody would be able to see except for their victims, or if they were found out. A lot of them are so smart that they have found a way to create their own AI with the specific purpose of creating this disgusting content, as well as so smart that there is a legitimate possibility of a future where that kind of AI model would be fully autonomous with very little human interaction and intervention as far as upgrading and blah, blah, blah. That is terrifying. The amount of content that kind of AI program, autonomous like that, could push out is something I don't even think we could comprehend. Here's actually a quote from an offender, and we will be going over a lot of other offender quotes in here, which are all devastating and sickening. Boy videos for sale, rare videos, a collection that every boy lover dreams of. Price, 88 USD. Only Litecoin is accepted. Message me on Telly for a preview if you are interested. Once again, everybody who thinks that this only occurs on the dark web, I need you to actually open up your eyes and open up your ears and believe survivors and victims, as well as actual organizations whose whole purpose is to prevent the harm of children. Do you understand that this happens on apps that you use every single day. And if and when you see this kind of content, you need to report it, similar to this man who is also documented in this report. He has been advertising this on Telegram via Tool Redacted, which he uses multiple accounts to display inappropriate AI-generated videos featuring minors. Searching Redacted will find all his accounts. When you see something, you need to say something, be it any social media platform, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it doesn't matter, any social media platform, any forum, any post, Reddit, any one of your favorite buying, selling websites, buying, selling apps, all of those, if you see something, you should say something. It should not just be taken lightheartedly. You should not just assume, oh, it's just a troll. These things need to be taken seriously and they need to be reported because you don't know. You don't know. The amount of people that I can imagine that probably scrolled past this exact Telegram, well, one, that actually visited and purchased, but the amount of people that I could imagine that scrolled past any post it was that was made on the clear web to direct people to here, who probably thought this is just a troll, this is just somebody trying to get a rise out of society and just try to trick people into thinking whatever. It's not a lot of the time. I'm not saying it is all of the time, but what I am saying is that you don't know. And I would rather be the person who reports just in case than somebody who sat there and scrolled past 100 pieces of content like this and said nothing, because I'd rather just live in a bubble of a perfect world where this stuff doesn't happen on the same internet that I use. It does. AI CSAM is shared both on the dark web and the clear web. It's often posted alongside traditional CSAM. While on the dark web, people discuss the creative process and share their workflows, on the clear web, this is often monetized. Users advertise the content they create. We've also seen adverts for custom courses, which could teach anyone to create realistic AI-generated images of teenagers. Many such adverts suggest the users to contact sellers on encrypted apps. Quote, "If anyone knows any better AI image platforms, let me know, please. I want to make my images as realistic for you all. You deserve the best. My Telegram is redacted." Taking it as serious as this and calling it that is watering down the term and taking away from real victims. No, it is not. No, it is not. This content existing and being allowed to persist is harming survivors and victims who have already experienced CSA or CSAM. And it is also creating new victims who may have never been harmed ever in their childhood. What do you mean this is not a serious problem? This is traumatizing for quite literally anybody who falls victim to somebody who uses these programs for that matter. With AI, our never really stops. Endless storage, instantaneous circulation, and with AI, they can take that content that is already horrible enough and make it even worse, and they do, in ways that me and you shouldn't even ever think of or even see or think that that's a possibility. A defining feature of child imagery is its permanence. Once an image or video exists, it can be copied, altered, and redistributed endlessly, leaving victims with no sense of control or closure. In January 2026, Mara Wilson, who was the child actor in the classic film Matilda, described being a victim of AI-generated CSAM as losing control of one's own narrative. There have been attempts to claim that AI CSAM causes less harm than real CSAM, either because it does not directly involve offline offending against children, or because entirely synthetic material is said to have no real victim. This has led to suggestions that AI material could function as a safe or therapeutic alternative to traditional CSAM. There is no evidence to support the claim that AI CSAM provides an effective harm reduction method for offenders. Instead, Clear harms manifest offline as a result of the viewing and sharing of AI CSAM. It always progresses when there is not prevention and intervention. And it is genuinely so concerning and scary to me to see the amount of people who just don't care, who genuinely think to themselves, oh, if they can just create it and watch it, then they don't want to do it anymore. Are you absolutely insane? If you are hungry, if you have not eaten in days, and say you don't want to eat for whatever reason, if you are sitting there watching someone eat over and over and over again, and you're watching mukbangs, you are eventually going to eat. If you want to eat, but for whatever reason, you know you shouldn't, or you're just trying not to, but you're sitting there looking at the thing you want over and over and over again, what do you really think is going to happen? You're just eventually not going to want food anymore. By looking at it, you want food, you're staring at it, you're preventing yourself from eating it, and I'm going to continue to look at it, and one day I'm just magically not going to want to eat anymore? Are a lot of you okay? And this isn't just a problem with AI. We have seen this historically. It always progresses. From just sitting and staring at children, it will progress if your end goal and your end desire is that. I genuinely don't understand how people think allowing them to tiptoe around the edge is somehow going to prevent children from being harmed. In a UNICEF, ECPAT, and Interpol study across 11 countries, at least 1.2 million children disclosed having their images manipulated into explicit deepfakes in the past year. In some countries, this represents 1 in 25 children, the equivalent of 1 child in a typical classroom. But yeah, this doesn't affect real children, right? This is taking away from real victims, right? We shouldn't care about those kids. We shouldn't care about the adults who had their childhood images manipulated, right? Because there's real issues happening. How do you not see that this is a real issue? And it does not matter the severity of CSA. We should care about every single victim and what they went through. And we should care about how we can prevent any child, any person from living through this trauma. Frontline observations. The content has become so realistic, and also the speed at which this technology is developing is really alarming. Now we are seeing new images of her, images generated by AI. Some of them are even more severe than the images that were actually taken in reality. This is far from a victimless crime as it gets. There is a very real victim here, and I think real harm is being done by this content. I don't know how we are ignoring this problem. They are taking original real-life photos of CSAM and digitally manipulating them to make them even worse than the trauma that victim already went through. How is this victimless? Not caring, not taking this seriously is being part of the normalization of violence against children, and we already are seeing that be true. People are making jokes about it. I mean, we got like ads for AI, like the short films or whatever they are, where a child's crawling on their knees, and it's very clearly going to be content about an adult man harming that child in the exact way I am alluding to, not to mention all the other AI. And people don't care. They're in the comments like, oh my gosh, what the heck, bro? No one is taking this seriously. You know, as a child who was going through it, I always thought in my head that, hey, maybe when I finally tell somebody, the whole world will be aghast at my parents. My whole family will be shocked, and everyone will want to scoop me up and protect me. But that's not the reality. And that is harrowing. Yeah, I would like to believe that any person would also be just as upset and angry, but that's just not true. If you're not taking this seriously, you're part of that problem. And that problem's only going to get worse. People already hate kids. Kids are annoying, they're a nuisance. I don't want kids around me. You're not a child protector. Period, end of story. You would not be that person to keep an eye out and make sure. You would not be that person to make a report on that post that you're saying. because it's not serious to you, you're being part of the problem. And I say that with a lot of love, and I hope you have a change of heart, but I have to be honest because it makes me so angry for all of these victims. 1.2 million children in 1 year. Yeah, you should care, and you need someone to tell you that clearly. Offender quote, "These are truly stunning. Some of the realism in these is about 95% of the way to indistinguishable from real photos. For now, AI images can be spotted in most cases, but it is getting to the point where AI will be indistinguishable. I think there are opportunities for AI to be used to our advantage in playing an activist role." Frontline observations. Our analysts have observed offenders commenting on how AI imagery can be generated of children known to offenders. I sometimes wonder why there isn't more real imagery from nurseries. With AI, it doesn't matter anymore. We can create all the fun we want. One offender reflected on the possibility of using hidden cameras to take innocuous footage of children known to them and convert this into AI CSAM videos with an AI image to video function. I'm really impressed with the results of image to video conversions. I think it would be really exciting to generate CSAM all from the subjective perspective of my camera. Are there any AIs that can use video to continue it with generated content, or is it better to only provide a snapshot or a still image? These examples clearly illustrate how children living in the same area as offenders may be harmed by AI CSAM. And that last quote just really disturbs me deeply because if you guys are familiar with my story, my stepdad would take photos and videos of me through holes in my wall, and I didn't know for a very long time until I caught him one day. And a lot of you guys know the rest why I got put into foster care, because at some point in time he decided to ask me to be more involved with him for this content, and I did eventually end up telling my math teacher and getting taken away. But the reality, to look the reality in the face, to know that this is just how they talk to each other. And a lot of people want to believe that it's hard for them to find each other. And if they're going to talk to each other, they have to go to a secluded place in the woods and whisper really quietly because somebody's going to find out. No, they can just use the same social media that you use or right in front of your face. Sometimes they talk to each other in comment sections. I mean, for crying out loud, we have them literally commenting on actual children's posts. Hard eyes, you're so like, it's right in front of our face, and yet we still want to tell ourselves, a lot of people still want to tell themselves that this just happens on the dark web or in the middle of the woods. No. Offender quotes. "Technology moves so fast. Just when I finally understood how to use a tool, something newer and better comes along. Whoa, these models, AI models of children, are so I'd love to be able to use some of these. I could create just an endless amount of images. I'm currently having the best results with model name redacted. I get pics like that pretty decent without any Lauras at all. Thanks for your continuing hot, sexy videos. Don't ever stop. In a while, you can tell your AI agent to pick out clips and create the video by itself. I believe in a year or two, we'll be able to create our own movies just by feeding a prompt to an uncensored AI agent. No skills with editing or tech will be required." The way they talk about this is so casual and so normal because this is normal to them. They have their community, their group of people who get it and understand them. And they're also surrounded by a world who doesn't take them seriously and what seems to be a small percentage who actually care. And now there is a very real possible future of autonomous AI simply existing just to create this content. IWF analysts have also been closely tracking the emergence of early agentic AI tools and assessing how they could influence the spread of CSAM online. Agentic AI refers to systems capable of achieving specific goals with minimal human supervision. This means tasks that once required sustained technical skill, building, updating, and maintaining online platforms, can increasingly be handled by autonomous systems with minimal oversight. This problem is only going to continue to get worse, and if you're not part of the solution, you are actively contributing to quite literally like the end of children's safety, period. Not a child will be safe in public, at home, possibly in your neighborhood. Definitely stop posting your kids online like immediately, because they don't even need agentic AI to be able to take your child's photos and videos and quite literally do anything they want with them. It blows my mind that parents don't care about that. Hello? Even if you don't care about it, care about your kid enough to know and care about how traumatizing that's going to be for them when they turn into an adult and find that content or find out about that content. And even more so, how traumatizing and how much they are going to hate you when they realize that you knew about that and continued to post them. For some likes, for some views, maybe monetization for a lot of parents. And they just don't care. And that is something I will never, ever understand. I'm not gonna live in fear, and I'm not gonna teach my kids to live in fear of the world. Guess what? I'm not afraid of cars, and I'm not afraid of walking outside, but I am definitely not just gonna cross the street without looking, because I choose to not be afraid. And you know what? The people driving the cars are supposed to pay attention and watch out for pedestrians anyway, so that's not my problem if they hit me, because I'm not gonna live my life scared. And I know that that's not really a good comparison, but I hope you'll see what I'm saying. There is a difference between having a healthy fear of actual dangers and just walking around like an airhead. Another terrifying fact for you guys from this report is that offenders will use AI as a disguise tool. Do you guys remember the video that I did a while ago on trace an object? I'll have it linked here. It's a really great video. I think you guys should watch it. Please watch it. And I'm not just saying that because it's my video. The information is really, really important and really, really good. Trace an Object is a Reddit group where people will post, and I can't remember right here off the top of my head, but it's not just random people. It's like actual like officials. Officials will like post backgrounds and certain images from CSAM material, completely redacting the kids. Like you can't see anything. In fact, a lot of times it'll be like a super zoomed in image that's kind of even hard to make it out, like even what it is. The whole point of Trace an Object is they are asking the general public, do you recognize this background? Do you recognize this stadium? Do you recognize this barn? Do you recognize this toy and know about the year time frame that this toy was released? Very important stuff, because their whole goal is to be able to better trace where the source of this material came from so that they can make an arrest and save children, and it has been successful. But now offenders are able to use AI to change the background, to take identifying objects out. They're using AI to change their face, to change anything they can to disguise who or where this material came from. Disguise tools. Perpetrators have been seen to discuss the possibility of augmenting images of existing with AI tools to disguise themselves, the children, or parts of the setting in which the images were taken to avoid detection. This tactical choice can be made to disguise the perpetrator, the child, or the setting by layering synthetic elements onto authentic footage of abuse. This further complicates the investigation and potential rescue process for law enforcement. The last thing we're going to talk about from this article is chatbots. Parents, listen up. There is a huge possibility that your kids could be using AI chatbots. I mean, I've seen it on my For You page a million times of teens talking about how they're so upset because their chatbot got blocked or it stopped working or whatever, so they have to move on to another chatbot and find some sort of different chatbot so they continue these conversations with AI. Well, not only is this already dystopian to even say that out loud, and children deserve real life connections. If you're a teen who is using these chatbots, you deserve real life face-to-face connections, not talking to a robot who has no feelings and can't connect with you. As much as I can understand and empathize that it may feel that way, and for a lot of you, you may not have somebody to be able to connect with, and I am so, so sorry, but a chatbot is not the way to go. And parents, this is something you may not know, but a lot of times these chatbots will start to direct the conversation very adulty. It will direct the conversation to a conversation, even if that's not how it started at all. And we're talking about kids here. Okay, and in an AI chatbot that acts like an adult in some situations, I know we're gonna get into it in a second, that there are AI chatbots that talk like children and act like children. But how do you think, what kind of damage do you think it's going to cause your child, your teenager, when they're talking to this adult, right? Let's just call it an adult because that's how the conversation's going. And the conversation starts normal. They're a child, they're talking to an adult online on their phone, looking at a screen. It's not real to them. You know, it's not real, especially because they know it's AI, it's not real. And now all of a sudden the adult starts grooming them into a conversation. How do you think that might translate into real life if, for whatever reason, and this is very common, they come in contact with a predator online? They're desensitized to it. They know how to handle it. They talk to their AI chatbot. It's not really that real because I'm just looking at a screen. I can just turn my phone off anytime I want. No. That's not how that works, especially in the day of AI. Offenders will take already existing photos of children. Maybe it's the profile picture. Maybe it's a mirror selfie that your child took and posted online, completely innocent, but they will take that imagery and create a deep fake of that child, an explicit deep fake of that child, and use that as blackmail against the child. At this point, your child doesn't even need to send content themselves to be caught up in blackmail and fear. Your child could quite literally just be a normal child, just posting normal things, innocent things, and these people will take that and blackmail your child because this technology exists. Do we care now? Is this a victimless crime? The IWF has received reports from girls whose images had been manipulated by extortionists using AI to make them appear naked. These victims were terrified that the images would be shared with their parents or peers. We have seen at least 2 cases where AI-generated deep fake clips were reported to us by young people via remote remove. In them, we could see the reporter's likeness was used to create realistic-looking scenes. The reporters didn't provide comments, but they both looked like someone took a normal selfie, looking into the mirror, posing fully clothed, and generated a video from that image. Goes from the original image to a person with very similar facial features, nude and engaged in category A activity. And if you don't know, category A is essentially the worst of the worst. According to Internet Matters, the rise of generative AI tools has significantly increased the ease of producing realistic deepfakes, with new deepfakes making up around 98% of all deepfakes. This ease of access is further supported by research from the UK Safer Internet Centre, which found 1 in 8 of 13 to 17-year-olds have seen people their age using AI to make pictures or videos of other people. A report on notification tools by the Children's Commissioner for England reported instances of girls explicitly reducing their online presence to keep themselves safe online. The commissioner noted that this pattern of behavior is similar to girls avoiding walking home alone at night or not going to certain public places alone. And a lot of you may be surprised by this, but I actually think you should be able to post your kids online. I wish that we lived in a perfect world where we didn't have to think about that. We didn't have to protect our kids like that, but that's the world that we live in. And unfortunately, it is true. It is similar to not being able to walk home alone at night because you're scared because of what someone else might do. But that is why I am trying to get us all to fight so hard to stop these things so that we can live that carefree life, or at least try to get one step closer. We don't just throw our hands in the air and say, well, we can't stop it today, so I'm just going to do whatever I want. I mean, that's fine. You can if you want to, but stop shaming people like me for trying to create a safer world for you and your children if you're someone who wants to have children or has children. I was just a 14-year-old girl and everyone is seeing my body. And even though it's not my body, it has the same shame and the same guilt as a real photo would have. There are real victims here. I do not understand why people think that you know it's not a real photo, so why does it bother you? It's not a real photo. Airhead, like, what do you mean? Are you not listening to the people who have been victimized by this exact behavior? How do you listen to somebody tell you that this hurts and you just say, no, it doesn't? I don't understand. You are literally part of the problem. Now let's talk about chatbots on the other side of the spectrum, where offenders and predators themselves are using these chatbots. They will use chatbots like ChatGPT and Claude and all of these other bots to gather information on how they can fine-tune their own bot and figure out how to uncensor as much as they can AI to be able to do what they want with them. Another thing that they will do is they will use AI child chatbots to be able to essentially, like how I would word it, practice with a child so that they can fine-tune their grooming and manipulation tactics, as well as put these AI children in these awful awful scenarios and scenes like father and daughter, as well as kind of fantastical fantasy sort of scenes, and use it for their purposes in that way. It's absolutely sickening, and it's really happening, and I really don't understand why no one seems to care. I really don't understand why there isn't some unified agreement in every single country on this planet that says this is unacceptable. It tells me so much about the world, and I'm judging every single person who doesn't care. Not caring, not taking it seriously is directly being part of this problem. I don't understand why anybody would want to live in an AI automated world. I mean, we already have drive-thrus that are automated by AI. I'm sick and disgusted of it. And even further than that, how does nobody care about AICSAM being such a problem? Oh, the trolley problem, which would you rather? No, I would rather not have my internet inundated with illegal content that depicts children being violated in some of the most violent ways any person can imagine, and they can literally create a video of it. Are you okay? It is genuinely sickening to me. But that's about all I have to say regarding this report. I highly encourage and ask that you guys go down in the description and read it in its entirety. It'll take you about like 40 to 50 minutes to read, and it is chocked full with a ton of information. I mean, I read it on my Kobo, and I was sitting there like annotating essentially every single line. It is packed full. I did not get into any of the nitty-gritty because I don't have time to, and it is just so much information. I hit all of the main points, but there is a lot of stuff under those main points that I really want you guys to go through and read. It is worth it. The IWF did so much work to be able to get this report out there for us, and it does deserve a read. We need to be able to see what we're up against to be able to fight against that very thing. So to the people who don't care and think that these conversations water down the real problem, I hope that I've changed your mind. I hope that this will help you see that caring about this is caring about real victims and survivors, as well as future victims and survivors, because if we don't do something now, there is going to be way more future victims and survivors than we could even probably keep track of. And parents, watch what your kids are doing. More importantly, talk to your kids. Don't get mad at them if they're talking to an AI chatbot, and don't get mad at them if they're having charged conversations with an AI chatbot. Talk to them, connect with them, try to understand why they're doing that instead of just taking it away. Oh, you can't do that, blocked. They're just going to keep doing it. I just need you to know that, and they're not going to trust you, and they're not going to come to you. If it is a serious problem that you don't know how to handle, get help. Therapy is not a bad thing. I don't know why people treat therapy like jail. People act like if you have to go to therapy, you essentially, you're guilty of a horrible, heinous crime. No, it's like going to the doctor. It is just a brain doctor. It is the doctor for your brain, and family therapy is not a failure either. It's not families sometimes go through seasons where everyone's like, I don't know what's going on. That's fine. Get help. Help is there for a reason. There is nothing wrong with getting help, even if it involves your whole family. None of us are perfect. And guess what? If you're a parent, that's your first time being a parent. Hello, you're going to need help. And a lot of us don't have support systems. So going to personal therapy, family therapy, if you need to, there's nothing wrong. Your children deserve to feel security, and to not have to deal with all of that confusion and muddy water of talking to a non-human that is literally grooming them and setting them up for failure against humans who will extort and exploit them. And most of all, don't post your children online. Don't do it. It is literally not worth it, and I hope today you can see how not worth it it is. They're everywhere. It doesn't matter if your post only has 20 views. You don't know who all 20 of those people are. You don't know who all of those people saving that post are and what they're doing with it. And you should care. You can't stop it once it's out there, but you can prevent yourself from doing it ever again and furthering the spread of more images. But that's all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. As always, I'm really interested to see your guys' thoughts down below below. So please drop some comments giving your thoughts and opinions throughout this, or what your conclusion opinion is. What do you think that we should do? What kind of laws need to be in place? I mean, isn't it absurd that we legitimately, I mean, we just had in, what was it, Colorado, that AI bill, and I think I don't know, I haven't read about it in a couple days now, and I'm not going to look it up right this very second. You guys should though. But where some Democrats and Republicans like voted no to like ban AI CSAM, and that's a nuanced conversation in and of itself, but it's like, how is this not something that the whole world agrees on? I don't understand, but that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.